Hello again. For the next lectures, we're going to be developing a chair. We're going to do this for you to understand how the advanced UVW mapping works, and also to practice the polygon modeling before we go into our next task, which is going to be you developing an interior space. Now, as you may know, we've been working just with the usual UVW map modifier, which is this one. However, if you plan to develop furniture, such as a sofa or a chair, which has more complex geometry, the UVW map is not going to be that useful. So we must understand how the unwrap UVW map works. And we're going to be talking about that once we finish modeling our chair. Without further ado, let's get started. First of all, I'm going to give this box the dimensions of my chair. So I'm going to have a 50 centimeters by 50 centimeters in length and width. And our height is going to be 45 centimeters. I'm going to convert this to an edit poly, and I'm going to apply the clay view here, F4. And now I'm going to just extrude the back of the chair. So I'm going to do this by selecting these two edges and connecting them. Now I know we've modeled a chair before, but the one that we're about to model is going to be much more complex. So let's go to our edit edges and connect. Now let's drag this edge over here. I'm going to go for my polygon selection, select this face, right click and extrude. I'm going to extrude this by 35 centimeters. This geometry that we've just created, it's going to serve us as reference only. So for the next step, I'm going to develop the supports of my chair, and I'm going to start off with a box. Now this specific support is going to be 5 centimeters by 5 centimeters. Now I'm going to right click, convert to edit poly, pick my face up here, and by pressing the S key, I'm going to match it with this height of my reference. Now let's go to our top view. Let's change this perspective to orthographic mode. And I'm just going to drag it 45 degrees as we've done before. Let's press the G key to get rid of that grid. And now for the next step, I'm going to just create a horizontal support here. So let's go to our front view. And for this, I'm only going to be making it with a plane. Let's deselect our snaps toggle and F3. And obviously I'm going to use the reference for my width. I'll be moving this support in a minute. Let's just create this horizontal support here. Now there's too many segments. I'm going to go for my modifier and just reduce it to a 2 by 4 will be fine. Right click, convert to edit poly, and I'm going to apply some kind of design here. I'm going to select these 6 vertices. And actually I'll just bring this one down and this one over here. Alright, so we end up with something like this. And I'm going to bring this support over here so that we respect our reference. And this geometry here is actually going to support my seat. So I'm going to apply an FFD 2 by 2 because it's way too big, and just scale it with the control points. Let's make it a little bit smaller. Deactivate our snaps toggle. Like so. I'm going to follow the geometry here, which is in a diagonal. So I'm just going to pick this control point like so. And now I need my other support at the other side. Let's go and unselect the control points and bring this geometry over here. Let's go to our top view, like so. To be a bit more precise, I'm going to add a symmetry modifier for this leg. Let's go for the x-axis and flip it. Now let's select the mirror inside of our modifier there and drag it out. Now I'm going to go to my front view again just to follow my reference. Let's go back to symmetry and select this object. Now we can see that this horizontal support is actually leaving the back leg in this case. So let's bring it back in, select control points, and just follow the geometry. Alright, so now I'm going to add a thickness to this. So let's add a shell modifier. Let's go for 3 centimeters. Now what I'm going to do is just select these 3 objects and give them a symmetry modifier once again. But this time, let's go on the Y direction. Let's actually flip this. Let's go to our mirror. And I'm just going to place this reference at the back so I can have the dimensions for my chair. F3. Let's go back to our symmetry, and we're not doing bad at all. Let's just move it like this. Now I'm going to be adding some chamfers later on just to smooth everything up. Obviously, this is not looking that pretty right now, but it will. Don't worry about it. So let's select this edit poly and actually bring it more to the center of these legs. Now I'm going to create the seat in the same way that I just created this railings. Now let's go for the positive icon, plane. And again, I'm just going to be developing the half of it because I'm going to be adding asymmetry later on. Now one thing about this seat is that I wanted to have a curvature in the corners here. But we have to keep in mind the topology of our mesh because we always have to be working with the 4 sides. Okay, so if I go over here and let's say that I'm going to copy this and turn it to an edit poly. Let's say that I just want to have this like so. Okay, that could work. But if I add an extra support here, once I do my turbo smooth, it's gonna help me out like a loop support. So it's better to have one extra loop here so that when we add a turbo smooth, we'll have some kind of pin holding it together. So once we are done modeling this, you'll get a bit more sense of what I'm telling you right now. So let's go ahead and turn this into an edit poly. So convert to edit poly. Now let's go to edit geometry and I'm going to use the cut option and I'm just going to create a loop here to serve it as a loop support again for my turbo smooth later on. So all of these tools we've already seen. We're just applying it in a different way. And now I have to create more vertices because remember that we need to keep the topology of this mesh with 4 sides in each polygon. Again, there's nothing new here. It's the same method that we've been applying so far. Now this is a mess because it's not really straight, is it? So we need to fix it. And for this, I'm just going to be positioning these vertices a bit better with the help of my snaps. Okay, so right now I'm just going to snap it to the midpoint of this line at the top, and now I'm just going to do the same thing with this line at the right side. So it's right in the center point. And now I'm going to align all of my vertices using this vertex. Okay, so this one will go in the Y, this one too. So all of them based on this top one over here. And now I'm going to use the bottom midpoint of this segment. We're using the right side now. And now I'm just going to use this vertex as a reference for my next vertices here. So they're all aligned to the midpoint. Alright, but remember that we need 4 vertices for each polygon. In here, I have more than 4 sides, obviously. So what I'm going to do is just to connect this vertex with this one over here. So let's select the vertex option. I'm going to select both of these and connect them. So let's go to edit vertices and connect. These ones too. Okay, now you can see that I have 4 sides in here and 4 sides in the interior. Now I can have a turbo smooth applied to this and it's going to go smoothly. But not just yet. I'm going to select my vertex and make this side without selecting our snaps. Remember that, because it would then be a pain to do this. Okay, we can be a bit more precise by using the midpoint here. And then let's just Ctrl Z this for a bit. And I can use this midpoint here, and in the x-axis, this midpoint over here. So that's centered. And now I can do the same to the bottom one here by snapping back to it, like so. Now we have a perfect symmetry in the top and in the bottom. Alright, let's just place it on top of a reference to see if everything is working okay. It seems to be. It's a bit larger than the midpoint. So if I just select these guys and move them a little bit to the center there. Now I want to add a symmetry. So let's go ahead and add a symmetry. Obviously it's not in the Z axis that we want it. It's going to be in the Y axis. Now let's flip it, move the mirror until its center point. Okay, now that this is ready, I'm going to just drag it out from my reference, and I'm going to actually be placing a modifier shell on top of it. And this is going to be having 3 centimeters in height for the outer amount. And remember to go all the way down here and select the straighten corners option so that we don't have any of those nasty shadows there. Okay, now let's go ahead and place this on top. That's gonna serve as our seat. And there we go. Now, I think this is a bit too much shell, so I'm going to give it a 2 centimeters. So that looks better. These 2 rails, I'm going to drag them up a bit. And I actually want to bend this seat just to add it a bit more design. So let's go ahead and add in FFD 4x4 in this case. Let's go and select the control points now and select these 2 sides, all of these control points at the sides. And I'm going to drag them up a bit just to give this curvature to the seat. Let's go ahead and place it properly. So in the left side, okay, F3 to activate the wireframe mode. And let's just check that our supports are actually touching the seat. They are. Okay, now I actually want to make this a bit smaller in this side. So let's go ahead and bring in an FFD 2x2 now. Select the control points and drag them like so. Because I want these 2 back legs to be also the supports for my back geometry. So let's go ahead and select them. And by now, I think they're okay. And it's safe to say that we can convert this to an edit poly to collapse everything. So right click, convert to edit poly. I'm going to select these 2 faces, right click and extrude them. Following again my reference. So I'm matching the height and this is looking pretty good. And now what I want to do is to copy my seat and use it for my back. So I'm just going to copy it without instancing it. Let's activate the angle snaps, turn this around and place this at the back like so. Now it's obviously that it's too large for being my back object. So with the FFD 2x2, I can select the control points and make it way smaller like so. Let's bring it down a bit. Something like this will do. I actually want to give it a little bit more of design by just placing the supports in a diagonal way. So I'm going to select this edit poly, press my vertex option and move it like so. I'm also going to select these 2 faces and scale them down just to have a bit more of design again. Okay, now I can place this back and also rotate it. So make sure that it's actually touching the supports. Okay, this is looking pretty good. Now, what I want to do is to also bend this forward, but I'm not going to be using the FFD 4x4. I'm actually going to be using the bend modifier, which we haven't seen yet. Let's apply this modifier, and we have 2 options here. We have the gizmo and the center. We also see this bounding box, this orange bounding box, and now I don't think we need this reference anymore. I'm just going to place it over here. Also with my seat. Let's just drag it out and select this Alt plus Q just to isolate all of this object. Now the bend modifier uses this bounding box, and in here in the parameters we can change the angle. We can also change the bend axis. We can use X or Y axis like this, so I can actually bend it a little bit. Let's go for -20. But what if I just wanted to bend it so that it has a U-shaped geometry? I can do this by going into my gizmo and using the snaps toggle, I can rotate it like so. But in this case, I'm going to stack another bend modifier. Let's go ahead and select our gizmo, and this time I'm just going to bring it down like so and center it to my chair. Okay, now if I bend it, I can create this bending effect in this direction, and if I go to my Y, for instance, I can now bend it in a U-shaped. And now what is happening is that my center is not actually centered. So let's just center it, and again my rotation is a bit off. Okay, so let's just center it as precise as we can, and our center point must be right on the center, so I'm just going to snap it right on my edge, on my mid edge there. And now I can bend it a bit. Let's say 30 degrees will do. Alright, I also want to add an extra rail here at the front for extra supports and also for an extra design. So let's go ahead and grab a plane again. I'm not going to use symmetry in this case. I'm just going to use the whole object. So the number of segments 2 by 4, it's fine. I'm going to right click and convert this to an edit poly. Okay, so let's select the scaling option and just give this a bit more of the design. Now these two also. There we go. Now let's bring it forward and let's add a shell modifier to it. Two centimeters is fine, and I can copy this to the back too. Let's just make this seat a tiny bit thinner. So let's go for our control points. Let's select both of these, and with my scaling I can just bring it down a bit. Now for the next part of the lecture, we're going to be applying a chamfer to all of these. So I'm going to copy my whole object to have it as a backup in case something goes wrong. Now let's edit poly all of these options. So I'm going to collapse all of my modifiers. So right click, convert to edit poly. Now I'm going to chamfer all of the edges, so I can ring it because it's a proportional mesh and all of the polygons have 4 sides. Let's also pick the back edge, right click and chamfer, and I'm going to actually be chamfer it for 0.5 centimeters and just 1 additional segment. So I'm going to apply these chamfers just to smoothen up the edges and also to be able to apply a turbo smooth. So I'm adding an extra loop too. Let's go for this seat now. So let's press the 2 key to select the edges, double click to loop it, right click and chamfer. Let's make it 0.5 centimeters. And I'm going to isolate this, so Alt plus Q, just to isolate these horizontal railings there. And let's just grab all of these edges. So F3 to enter the wireframe mode. Okay, unselect with the Alt key. Now I also want to chamfer these 2 extra edges here so that when I apply turbo smooth, it won't get squashed like we've seen multiple times by now. So right click and chamfer 0.5 centimeters once again. Let's unhide all. Now remember that we can also use the weighted normals just to get rid of these extra shadows here. So weighted normals, and there we go. Let's isolate these 2 objects too, so Alt plus Q, and select once again all of these edges, including the ones in the lateral faces, because those are also going to be squashed when added to turbo smooth. Okay, make sure that you're selecting all of them. We could actually attach these 2. So let's go ahead and edit geometry, attach. And now let's go ahead and press number 2 to select all of the edges again. So I just attach them to keep everything organized. Again, make sure not to be missing any edges there. Alright, so right click and chamfer 0.5 centimeters will be fine again. Okay, right click and unhide all. Let's go for our supports here, Alt plus Q, so that we don't have anything there on our way. Okay, so we can actually just select all of the edges and this ones because we don't have any extra loops going on in here. So right click and chamfer 0.5 centimeters will do again. And there we go. Right click, unhide all. So far so good. let's copy this again to have it as a backup. Now for the next step is to attach all of our objects here and make sure that everything is touching. So let's just drag this back geometry like so. And I actually want to turn this a bit more. Okay, so for our next step, we're going to be attaching everything to make it a single object. So let's go ahead into Edit Geometry and Attach. Make sure that all of your objects are edit polys. Now let's add a turbo smooth to see the final result, and if all of our chamfers were placed correctly, we shouldn't have a problem here. Okay, let's add an extra iteration. And there we have it. A very smooth looking chair. Okay, so don't forget to save it. And I should have saved it a couple of times before getting to this point. Fortunately, nothing happened. But don't forget to save your work, as 3ds Max sometimes crashes for no reason. So we're done with the chair modeling. Didn't take us much time with all the knowledge that we know by now. In the next lecture, we're going to be seeing how to apply an advanced UVW mapping to this chair. And we're also going to be seeing why is that so necessary. So I'll see you there.